Good afternoon. My name is Father Rayappa. I've been wondering why Pope Francis inaugurated the Year of Mercy 2016. Why no other Pope before him thought about it. And another thing which was worrying me about ecology and environment, I've been really disappointed with the church regarding the interest shown by the church in ecology and environment matters, and not enough interest has been shown in the past by the church authorities on ecology and environment. But now, why Pope wrote a beautiful encyclical, Laudato Si, which makes me immensely happy. Why Pope Francis? Before him, even the pontiffs talked about a little bit of ecology and environment here and there, but they didn't show 100% interest in our own common home. But Pope Francis has shown it. But now I am very happy. So why now? Only this Pope took interest in all those matters which we would have expected much before him. We would have loved to see his predecessors, maybe some 50 years back, had taken the same interest, and we would have saved our natural world. And the Year of Mercy. Now, for the past, Church has been operating on different turf, like legislation, regulation, authority, manipulation, dominion, all these kinds of paradigms were operating inside the church. But now, suddenly, why mercy? It's completely the other direction. Where is legislation? Where is regulation? Now mercy. Where is manipulation? Where is inquisition? Where is pogroms? Where is burning at stake? And where is law and authority? But now mercy. The mercy has replaced them all. And why now? This question has intrigued me for the past 30 years of my life as a priest. But now I found an answer. I found an answer in the Bible. The Bible simply says, there is a time for everything. There is time for everything. It is from the book of Ecclesiastes. Yes, it is what Pope Francis is supposed to do. I mean, what his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI, did, that was proper. He did the right thing. But it was not the time for talking about ecology, environment and mercy, but he talked in other terms, which was absolutely necessary for that time frame. Before Pope John Paul II, the same thing he did. What he was supposed to do. There is time for everything. That is the time he perfectly talked about certain issues. It's appropriate. So every Pope in their mission, they were very, very appropriate. So I think it is the wisdom I have learned from the Bible. So all my desperation, all my anger, all my disillusionment now gone, because the Bible beautifully answers my questions. There is time for everything. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. I'm going to read it for you. It is full of wisdom. I think you must have been really disappointed or really angry about some certain issues. But I think when you read this, probably half of our problems will be over. Believe me. Chapter 3, verse 1 to 8. There is a given time for everything, and a time for every happening under heaven. A time for giving birth, a time for dying, a time for planting, a time for uprooting, a time for killing, a time for healing, a time for knocking down, a time for building, a time for tears, a time for laughter, time for mourning, a time for dancing, time for throwing stones, a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing, a time to refrain from embracing, time for searching, time for losing, time for keeping, a time for throwing away, a time for tearing, a time for sewing, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time for loving, a time for hating, a time for war, a time for peace. Wow! What a wisdom from the book of Ecclesiastes. And this wisdom was celebrated in 1994 in the White House in Washington, D.C. in America, when Yitzhak Rabin, then Prime Minister of Israel, and Yasser Arafat, his nemesis, they made peace in front of Bill Clinton, then President, in the White House Rose Gardens. That was the time Yitzhak Rabin quoted this beautiful passage. I mean, the Palestinians and Israel fighting like dog and cat for the past so many hundreds of years. But what happened in 1994? Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat, they shook hands in front of Bill Clinton, setting an example to their people to go for peace. This is the verses exactly Yitzhak Rabin quoted in 1994 in the Rose Gardens, in the White House, in front of Bill Clinton and Yasser Arafat. Of course, Yitzhak Rabin paid his price with his own life. In 1995, he was killed by an assassin for making peace. So this is a beautiful, beautiful passage I remember, and I think you can go to YouTube and you can revisit what happened in 1994 in the Rose Garden, White House. Anyway, year of mercy. There was time for regulation, there was time for legislation, but there is time for mercy. There was time for excommunications, there was time for pogroms, there was time for burning at stake, but now there is time for mercy. There was time for misunderstanding, there is time for right understanding. So I think that answers all my questions about my confusion in my mind. And the year of mercy is exactly, that is what the world needs today, the church needs today, and we have found a direction. I should appreciate Pope Francis for doing these two things, writing an environmental encyclical, Laudato Si. I give 100% and my appreciation. I show my love and gratitude to him. And also I thank Pope Francis for inaugurating the Year of Mercy 2016. And we'll be okay. We'll be okay. And God bless Take it easy. Bye now.